Across miles of desert, nothing moves, except one car with two men on a mission.
I can prove it. I know the place.
One, a physicist, is promising something shocking is about to appear.
It'll show up just over that ridge.
Then, right on cue, an object appears from nowhere.
Oh my God, what is that?
The bizarre craft disappears, and a secret is revealed.
I told you, we're not alone.
Questions about the existence of alien life have persisted for decades. Even more speculation surrounds the U.S. government and what it really knows. But amid the theories, there is one certainty: a belief that the public isn't being told everything.
The conspiracy theories surrounding Area 51 are numerous. People use this as a blank slate on which to draw their darkest fears.
While records are by no means complete, there have been thousands of reported UFO and alien encounters. From a mysterious crash in 1897, 6 years before the Wright brothers' first flight, to the Battle of Los Angeles in 1942, when UFO reports triggered massive anti-aircraft fire over the city. And the most famous UFO crash in U.S. history, Roswell, New Mexico.
If I was in charge of the military and the government, I would do exactly what potentially has been done, and that's keep it a secret.
For decades, there has been one location believed to be the epicenter of this government cover-up: Area 51. The military base is located in the midst of the Nevada desert, 85 miles north of Las Vegas. The name refers to a grid number found on an old map of the much larger site called the Nevada Test and Training Range. Built in 1955, reports of strange and unusual activity emerged almost immediately. Yet there is no official documentation the location even exists.
Up until recently, it's been denied that it even existed, even though people knew about it. So that, to me, that's a mystery.
Over the years, a portrait has emerged of this mysterious place. Many believe its primary purpose is a testing ground for the government's clandestine spy plane program.
Today, Area 51 is very active. They've built new runways, new hangars. I mean, there's some 24 hangars there, so that's evidence that there's a lot of programs going on.
Area 51 was created as a testing base for secret aircraft and secret weapon systems. That's all we know for sure, and that's all that the solid evidence is telling us.
But others believe these secret weapon systems are simply a smokescreen to cover the real story. In 1989, details began to emerge of a program that went far beyond spy planes.
There's a huge underground base out there, and that's where they work with the aliens, as hard as it is to believe. It's true. I mean, there are aliens all over the place.
If you and I walked in on everything that was being done, I'm sure we would be flabbergasted. We probably could not conceive all the different types of testing, or even try to comprehend some of the technology.
Now, Mystery Quest is mounting an investigation to try to find evidence of any government cover-up. The expedition team will look for physical evidence of UFOs in the desert surrounding Area 51. To do this, they'll search the sites of reported crashes.
Pete, I think we found something here. You may want to come take a look at this.
The science team will test recovered metal fragments and determine if they are from Earth or another world.
What do we got?
Mystery Quest will also talk to a former U.S. Air Force pilot who says the government is actively seeking to cover up knowledge of alien encounters.
It's registered top secret. You can't tell your wife, you can't tell your commander, you can't tell anybody in the squadron.
The team will also position cameras around the perimeter of the base and look for any anomalies that may appear in the desert sky. And use a powerful telephoto lens to glimpse further into Area 51 than ever before.
Right, here it is.
And our investigator will examine a new location to determine if the government has moved its alien operations. Area 51 operated in secret for decades.
A lot of people think that there's UFO activity at Area 51, with good reason. I mean, because of such a secretive nature, and the cat was let out of the bag by Bob Lazar.
In 1989, physicist Bob Lazar claimed the government was testing alien spacecraft at Area 51.
Bob comes by the house at night, and we're sitting over there, and he says, I saw a disc today. And I said, theirs or ours? And he said, theirs.
John Lear, a retired airline pilot, is a close friend of Bob Lazar. Lear says Lazar told him he worked at Area 51, analyzing the propulsion systems of alien spacecraft. These spaceships could travel millions of miles an hour using a strange atomic substance called Element 115, a material which allows the craft to move through space by bending and drawing it around the ship.
Space is a fabric. We think of it as a nothing, as just something cold, only containing one hydrogen atom per square meter, but it's actually a fabric. You can actually pull it. So you can go, if you could go 1,000,000 miles every 12 milliseconds, you can figure out that's pretty darn fast.
To prove his claims, in March of 1989, Bob Lazar led John Lear to a location outside the base. Then he told him exactly where and when he'd see an alien spacecraft for himself.
It was descending. It had come up, and everybody says, there it is, there it is. But I could see the yellow and the goldish. It was radiating, and it was descending. And I could see it getting close to the mountain. It was a classic saucer shape. If you put one plate on top of the other, that would be a flying saucer. That was what I saw. Secret test site. And just a few minutes ago, we saw one of the government extraterrestrial UFOs fly over there. We all watched it for about 7 or 8 minutes.
Lear was stunned by what he saw and is convinced to this day it was not of this world.
It was exactly the day, exactly the night, exactly the time that it came up. So he had to have worked there. He had to have, been involved in the program to get information like that.
The expedition team is near Area 51 in an attempt to determine if what Lear and Lazar saw was real. Peter Merlin is an aerospace historian and expert on the U.S. government's experimental aircraft programs. Mark Easter is the International Public Relations Director of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. MUFON is the world's largest civilian UFO research organization. Their first task is to set up camera traps that will continuously scan the skies for 48 hours, looking for any signs of activity.
We're on the Highway 375. We're headed towards Groom Lake Road, which is here, and we're going to get up on this side, up in the desert, and put the surveillance cameras up in this area here. There's less chance of somebody, happening across it. Leave them for 48 hours and see what happens.
Mystery Quest has obtained 3 specialized cameras to digitally record the skies above Area 51 for 48 hours. The cameras are weatherproof, designed for areas where light levels change drastically. Infrared technology will allow them to capture images during the night. But penetrating a possible government cover-up is no small task. And almost immediately, the team's investigation meets resistance.
Does it look like he might come this way, or is he going to stay put?
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Mystery Quest has traveled to the Nevada desert, hoping to unlock any cover-up about what our government really knows about alien life and UFOs. UFO sightings have been reported around the world for centuries. There may be evidence that ancient cultures were visited by aliens. In Peru, giant figures of animals visible only from the air are etched into a high desert plateau spanning more than 50 miles. They are called the Nazca Lines, after the people who made them 3,000 years ago. Some believe they were ancient alien runways.
The Nazca Lines are aerial guidelines to find a path to the Nazca Plain. These markings, which range from hundreds to several thousand feet long, show direction and regions where they could land and conduct specific operations.
The period after World War II seems to have ushered in a new wave of UFO sightings. The most famous alien incident in history occurred in 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico. Reports emerged that the military had recovered a crashed flying disc from a ranch near Roswell, and suspicions of an intricate cover-up have been rumored for decades.
Parts were recovered, bodies were recovered, so the word went out before the military-industrial complex could get its hands on it and choke it.
It is now known that governments around the world have also been keeping meticulous files on UFOs for decades. The United States has yet to fully release its files. But in 2008, the British government opened its files to the public. The reports were astounding. Thousands of unexplained UFO sightings. One of the most incredible incidents happened to an American Air Force pilot, Milton Torres. In 1957, Torres was stationed at a Royal Air Force base in Leeds, England. Only in the past year has he been authorized to recount what really happened to him.
They scrambled me. It was the most incredible thing. This would be a hot fire mission.
This meant he had orders to shoot down whatever was up there.
And
and that would be cleared to fire, and I would select 24 rockets.
Torres climbed to 30,000 feet. The clouds were thick, slightly obscuring his view. But the image on his radar screen was clear. The UFO was less than a mile away. It registered as the size of a football field. Yet it was zigzagging through the sky at an incredible speed.
I saw it going up at about Mach 10, 10,000 miles an hour. We didn't have the SR-71, we didn't have the F-22, we didn't have anything that could go anywhere near that speed.
Then, suddenly, the radar image disappeared almost as quickly as it had appeared. But Torres would quickly learn. The government didn't want him talking.
The next day, the spook came from the embassy in London. So the man said, now you can't tell your wife, you can't tell your commander, you can't tell anybody in the squadron, including your wingman. It was registered top secret. If you say there's anything to anybody, we'll take you off flying status. Well, I worked hard to become a fighter pilot. I wasn't about to lose that, so I better shut my mouth.
Some argue that what Milton Torres observed was only a radar anomaly. But more than 50 years later, the career pilot is convinced about what he saw.
Anybody who tell me some bullshit story, and the Air Force with the weather balloon crap, weather balloons don't go Mach 1. This thing was going all kinds of speeds. So whatever it was not made of this earth.
Speculation about an ongoing alien cover-up has raged for decades. Rumors are fueled by a government that won't officially admit the existence of Area 51. What is known is that Area 51 was originally constructed in 1955 as an aircraft testing site. Today, satellite images confirm what appears to be a military facility. 24 buildings along with a 5,000-foot runway. Even the airspace around Area 51 is restricted.
Even aerial surveillance is effectively impossible. Planes aren't allowed to fly over. There are reports that astronauts have gotten into trouble for accidentally managing to turn cameras down onto that area.
And people living in the small town of Rachel, Nevada, just outside the base, have long reported strange happenings. A local inn owner believes she actually saw something extraterrestrial.
It was between 8:30 and 9:30 at night. The beam of light came through the back door, and it shot about 6 feet into the room. It illuminated the entire door jamb. In Area 51, do I know what's going on for sure? No. Do I believe there's all kinds of testing going on, not just aircraft? Yes.
Next step, Room Lake Road.
After setting the camera traps, the expedition team approaches the perimeter of Area 51 in an attempt to survey the base. There is no official main gate that leads into Area 51, but any approach makes it clear that you are not wanted.
Yeah. What's that?
Signs warn against trespassers, while orange posts mark a nearly invisible boundary. And the team is already under observation.
They've even got remote cameras up there, so that guy doesn't even really need to be there watching us. He's just there in case we cross the border. I don't know what sort of telephoto they've got. They can probably read our license plate from there.
The guards are part of a private security force that monitors the perimeter of Area 51. They're authorized to arrest anyone who crosses. The investigators decide to test Area 51 security at another gate.
Does it look like he might come this way, or is he going to stay put?
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. He's just standing there looking at me right now, or looking at us.
Merlin and Easter realize their investigation into Area 51 is going to require a new strategy. The next attempt could lead to a new discovery or their arrest.
I honestly don't have a good feeling about this.
Mystery Quest is searching for clues into the truth behind the U.S. military's most secretive base. Many believe the government is involved in a cover-up of recovered alien technology and life forms. But what has been confirmed is that strange things happen near this desert testing grounds. Without warning and without explanation. A young family sits down together for dinner. Suddenly, the walls begin to shake.
Mommy! Oh my God! I think it's an earthquake!
But geologists confirm it's not an earthquake, and weather services report no unusual activity. This mysterious wave is called a skyquake, but its origins are completely unknown. One theory is that these quakes are caused by a plane developed at Area 51 that flies so fast it is not called supersonic, but rather hypersonic. The government has never admitted it exists, but its code name is reported to be Aurora.
The Aurora is one of the airplanes that has probably brought more people to study Area 51 than anything else. It was rumored to be something that could fly faster than Mach 5.
Mach 5 is almost 4,000 miles per hour, twice as fast as any known airplane ever built. The rumors about Aurora were fueled by mysterious condensation trails that appear to be unlike any ever seen. Photographs show bizarre contrails, which consist of circular shapes evenly scattered throughout a line.
People who believe in the Aurora project point to these sightings of these kind of mysterious contrails in the sky. They're sometimes described as being like donuts on a rope or pearls on a string. The idea is that the highly innovative propulsion system of the Aurora aircraft would produce this kind of characteristic contrail.
The incredible abilities of the Aurora have led to speculation that alien technology must be behind such a powerful airplane. But conclusive proof of the program has yet to publicly surface.
So far, in all the years since there were rumors about Aurora, there has never been any hard evidence that such a plane actually exists.
Area 51 may not be the only secretive government test facility with an extraterrestrial connection. Many believe there could be an alien research network of locations around the U.S. and the world.
This thing has grown worldwide, and you have to have support logistics and landing sites for craft. Any place where the space shuttle can land in an emergency, you can bet that that's part of the Area 51 system.
There are reports this network includes the Atlantic Undersea Test and Evaluation Center, or AUTEC, the Navy's ground zero for evaluating advanced technology. The base is located off the Florida Peninsula on Andros Island in the Bahamas.
They have a natural laboratory for the testing of submarine technology. And if you think of a submarine, you really will get a good idea of what a UFO is. Because a UFO is basically a submarine that can come out of the ocean, go into the air, and go into space.
One location rumored to be in this network of new secret bases is 800 miles away from Area 51 in Green River, Utah. In the late 1990s, there were claims Area 51 had become threatened by scores of tourists and alien seekers, and the government responded by moving their operations. Glenn Campbell has been investigating the military bases of the Nevada desert for 15 years. He is examining the rumors that may link the Utah facility to the UFO Research Network.
This looks like it. We're coming up on what looks like a gate. This is the main launch complex. This is the heart of this supposedly secret facility. I'm going to get out and check it out.
The facility was once part of a huge missile test range called White Sands.
Man, we got here just as a monster storm is blowing in from the west. This is what I think is the central launch complex. It seems to be in the center of the pads. I don't know what's in here exactly. They got this big old steel door.
Glenn's search reveals what appears to be an abandoned military facility. Debris and wires cover the ground. More importantly, there is no evidence of alien or any other research activity.
Now, there can always be one of those buildings where there's something secret, but the point is there's no infrastructure, there's no activity, there's no trucks coming and going, there's no people. This is a dead facility. This is not the new Area 51.
There is a belief that physical evidence may be lying in the desert. Now, the expedition team is on the hunt for that evidence.
This came up on, right?
Peter Merlin became aware of a location outside Area 51 where a crash once occurred.
Now, how did you find out about this location here?
I heard about it from some ranchers who lived out there back in 1967. Something came streaking out of the sky, slammed into the desert and exploded. Pretty soon, Air Force guys showed up in helicopters and trucks and kicked them off the land, told them to forget what they'd seen, and then they cleaned up whatever was left.
There was one piece they didn't find.
Check this out. You ever seen metal folded like that before?
I have not.
I mean, that's incredible. The force, it must have been planted in the ground at extreme speed. I'm not sure what kind of alloy that is. It's like stomping on a beer can. It's almost like it went straight in. But there's no impact crater here. I don't think it hit right here. I think it hit somewhere else and parts went all over.
The piece is too large to move for testing. The team decides to split up and scour the desert for smaller debris.
What we're out here looking for, it's not just what might be aircraft parts, but you can't assume what you're looking for is man-made. You have to be open to whatever the case may be. Now, if it's a piece of something that I'm concerned about, I won't touch it unless we get a Geiger counter on it.
The Nevada desert was the site of many atomic tests. Caution is paramount.
Pete, I think we found something here. You may want to come take a look at this.
I suggest you bring that Geiger counter with you.
Will do.
The twisted piece of metal is about 6 inches long, and small circles appear to be bolt or rivet holes.
I think we're okay. Looks pretty clean.
What do you think?
It's very distorted. Looks like it's been subjected to a lot of force. It's clean.
Well, this is definitely downwind from that piece that you found.
It is. It's right along the flight trajectory.
Now you can see it's got some form to this side right here, but jagged on this side. This definitely tore off of something obviously larger. I'm wondering about these holes, if this was from heat, or this is more of an exact hole. These are probably bolt holes, I would imagine.
They will send the specimen they've gathered to the science team to try to determine its origins.
Well, this is an excellent find right here.
Mystery Quest is investigating whether the U.S. government is hiding a UFO research program at Area 51 and other locations. There is only one place to get a clear view of Area 51. It is called Tikaboo Peak, an 8,000-foot summit 26 miles from the base. The team will be led by Glenn Campbell, who has led many excursions and is familiar with the hidden trail that leads to the peak. But this trek is different.
Oh my God,
now
wow.
That's a big lens.
This is the largest telephoto lens ever brought to Tikaboo Peak. It can zoom 66 times further than a standard lens. The team makes steady progress as Campbell leads the group to the summit.
That view.
Suddenly, a fighter jet appears.
This guy has circled this peak 3 times, and I kind of ask myself, does he know we're here? Is he looking at us?
The jet makes repeated passes.
Man, he's coming down really low, right through the valley there. Wow.
Then, it becomes clear the government is scrutinizing the team's progress.
Thank you. Coming!
A military helicopter suddenly swoops in for a closer look.
Man, they have to be here for us. Is he circling this peak?
He's circling the peak.
He has to be here for us.
Well, there's no question. He's here for us.
The helicopter is an unmarked Black Hawk-type chopper, often used by special forces.
They have never bothered with us here before. My concern is we're not going to be no one's going to interfere with us up there on the peak. We get down below, we may find the sheriff waiting for us, the local law enforcement. There's the helicopter again. And he's directly over Peekaboo Peak. And he's here to watch us. There's no other reason for him to be here.
The helicopter circles for 20 minutes, then disappears as suddenly as it arrived.
I honestly don't have a good feeling about this.
The science team has received the wreckage from the desert. Dr. Jerry Delaney at Rutgers University Lab will oversee the testing using an electron microprobe, a device that can determine almost 100% of the elements that make up any object. Dr. Delaney will test for anything extraterrestrial.
There are very distinctive features that are the signature of the trip through the Earth's atmosphere. Anything that comes through the atmosphere, whether it's a stone the size of my thumb or a spaceship, is going to heat up and it can form a crust in some circumstances.
The microprobe generates an electron beam.
And that, in turn, generates X-rays. They will tell me what the composition of the sample is.
The information is sent to a computer, which identifies the chemical makeup of the sample.
What do we got? Ooh, oh my goodness. Well, it isn't what I thought it was going to be. Having said that, it is a very typical terrestrial alloy. It's brass. This object looks as if it was something that was man-made, maybe a vehicle, maybe a farm equipment, maybe something military, I don't know. But everything about it says man-made, terrestrial.
The expedition team continues to investigate. Camera surveillance could provide proof of the conspiracy, as new evidence is discovered at the top of Peekaboo Peak.
This looks like new construction. I mean, other times I haven't seen this thing here before.
Mystery Quest is deep within the Nevada desert, trying to unlock the puzzle of extraterrestrial life at Area 51. This commercial aviator believes that the government is reverse engineering alien technology at Area 51. This Air Force pilot says he encountered an alien craft at 30,000 feet. And these researchers are trying to gain more information using an incredibly powerful high-definition lens to peer into the base. The team has climbed 8,000 feet to capture the closest images ever taken of Area 51. Surveillance helicopters and jets have buzzed the expedition and seem to confirm there is something the government does not want revealed.
All right, there it is. That's what you wanted to see. There's Area 51.
The team looks at recent satellite images, providing a bird's eye view of the base. They'll compare these images to what they see through the high-definition lens. New construction would prove that Area 51 is an expanding facility.
Well, we know what most of these hangars are for. We've determined over the years, okay, this is for the A-12. So the more we know about the base, the smaller the unknowns become.
Right.
What do you see?
The team examines the base through the powerful lens. Multiple buildings and runways are clearly visible on the monitor. But no cars or people are observed. Then, Glenn Campbell notices something.
This looks like new construction. I mean, other times I haven't seen this thing here before. Wow, what do you suppose it's for?
Well, it's big. And what do they need a hangar that big for?
Campbell spots a large hangar, which appears much smaller in the satellite photo.
And something new implies a new program of some sort, doesn't it?
While it is not confirmation that alien research is underway, the new construction is evidence that Area 51 is still operational.
Do you have any insight with your background as to what potentially the future of what they're hiding here is?
Well, on the aeronautical side of the house, I certainly expect there will be development of high-tech demonstration aircraft, new stealth technologies, and unmanned vehicles. But beyond that, who knows? Anything could be in those hangars.
The team descends to retrieve the over 48 hours of aerial surveillance taken by the desert cameras.
This is actually the turnoff here.
The footage reveals two possible sightings. In one scene, an object seems to appear, then quickly vanish in the sky above the ridgeline. In the second, a procession of lights drift near the horizon. But careful examination has revealed these anomalies are not evidence of UFOs. The first was determined to be a sudden cloud formation. In the second video, a series of lights appear on the horizon. However, after examining the evidence,
convinced the wobbles are caused by the gravitational pull of an orbiting planet.
When I read this claim from Michel Mayor, I was very skeptical. There had been many false claims of the first planet ever discovered around another star, and I thought to myself, oh boy, here we go again. So I decided to observe the star on 4 consecutive nights. And stunningly, the star was shown to wobble exactly as Michel Mayor had said.
Michel Mayor and his teammate Didier Queloz announced their discovery. It rocks the scientific community.
They had found for the first time reproducible, confirmable evidence of the existence of a planet around a sun-like star.
Officially called 51 Pegasi b, the planet is nicknamed Bellerophon in honor of the Greek hero who tamed the winged horse Pegasus. It is a planet that breaks all the rules. Bellerophon roasts in the blazing starlight at temperatures of roughly 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. It is nearly 150 times more massive than Earth and is a gas giant like Jupiter.
A gas giant is a planet made mostly of hydrogen and helium. Only the outer layers are gas, but inside, hydrogen and helium is compressed to huge pressures. It doesn't resemble a gas at all.
Unlike anything found in our solar system, this is an entirely new class of planet, what scientists call a hot Jupiter.
If you go to Hawaii and see the lava flow there, that's how hot a hot Jupiter is. It's very, very hot.
The Earth is a comfortable 93 million miles away from the Sun.
These hot Jupiters are roughly 100 times closer, and so the amount of sunlight that they get is 10,000 times larger.
If this represents a star, and this a hot Jupiter is 3 to 4 stellar diameters away from the star. So that would be 1, 2, 3. This is how close a hot Jupiter would be to its star. Hot Jupiters are tidally locked. They present the same face to the star at all times, just like the moon does to Earth.
It's going to be permanent daylight on one side and permanent nighttime on the back. If I were stuck on a hot Jupiter, I'd want to be on the back side and hope that some of the heat from the front side facing the star would make its way around the back.
The variations in temperature make Bellerophon's atmosphere extremely windy. The wind howls at thousands of miles per hour, far beyond anything we could ever withstand. The heat blast guarantees water vapor cannot exist. But that doesn't mean there is no rain.
It's far too hot for water liquid clouds to form here. But instead, these clouds would be made out of iron.
Iron vapor can exist at temperatures much higher than water. And because of that, things could get a little messy.
You better have an umbrella that's pretty sturdy, because the iron is going to start coating your umbrella very rapidly and making it extremely heavy and just crush that umbrella.
The sky overhead is filled with dancing curtains of color. Charged particles from the nearby star make auroras far more extreme than the northern lights on Earth. There is something even more unique about this newly discovered world. Bellerophon orbits its sun in a blistering 4.2 days.
No self-respecting planet goes around a star in 4.2 days. None of the planets in our solar system take such a short amount of time.
For scientists, the tiny orbit challenges long-held notions of how planets form.
The fact that the planet was orbiting every 4 days was a total puzzle until one night in the middle of the night I woke up and said, well, this must be proof that planets migrate inwards. They don't stay put where they are.
The key to the puzzle is found in how planets are made.
Planets are a byproduct of star formation. When stars form, they have a disk of dust and debris around them, and out of that debris, planets form.
Much of what we know comes from Hubble's Space Telescope, as it aims at regions like the Eagle Nebula. This interstellar cloud is studded with collapsing disks of dust and gas. A giant clump grows in the center of each disk. Temperatures reach a searing 18 million degrees. The same nuclear fusion that powers our sun is unleashed. The star is born. Radiation from the star generates a stellar wind that sweeps away leftover dust and debris. Some of the dust survives and remains in orbit around the newborn star. Over millions of years, the dust sticks together, forming knots that grow into asteroids, and the asteroids grow into planets. These planets migrate through the disk until they find a stable orbit. This is why Bellerophon is so close to its parent star. But one newly discovered world has found its stable orbit in a place no planet should ever go. 2001. Hubble Space Telescope is directed to an obscure star some 150 light-years away from Earth, in the constellation of Pegasus. This is the same region where Bellerophon was found 6 years earlier. Hubble is tracking another hot Jupiter, discovered by astronomer Jeff Marcy. But this one is different from Bellerophon.
You've probably heard of the planet HD 209458b. It's a terrible name.
A terrible name for a terrible place. HD 209458b has been dubbed by some as Osiris, after the Egyptian god of the dead. Osiris is over 200 times more massive than Earth. It has migrated perilously close to its sun, at a mere 4 million miles from the blazing solar surface. Osiris broils in a planetary hell. The average daily temperature on Osiris is over 2,000 degrees. Forget global warming. This is global frying, and it causes Osiris to lose an estimated 550,000 tons of air every second.
There's a leak of gas, a steady stream of hydrogen and helium, and that's making a big, huge cloud all around the planet.
Its atmosphere is bleeding into space. Scientists speculate that a colossal trail of gas spirals behind the planet for thousands of miles. Osiris presents an unprecedented opportunity for astronomers. Using Hubble, they analyze the alien planet's bloated atmosphere.
This is the absolutely first time where we could tell what is the composition of the atmosphere of an extrasolar planet.
Surprisingly, Hubble detects many of the basic chemicals needed for life. Sodium, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. But Osiris is far too hot for life as we know it.
There may be other forms of life, however, that thrive on higher temperatures.
But there's no solid surface as we know it on a hot Jupiter. So this life would have to be just tiny little microbes floating around on aerosols. And on our own Earth, we have life that floats around in our atmosphere. But that life didn't start there. So life almost certainly would not exist on hot Jupiters.
Astronomers have discovered many hot Jupiters since Bellerophon was found in 1995. But conditions on these worlds rule them out as places where the drama of life can unfold. One of these gas giants is a planet that teases the rules of evolution. Astronomer Jeff Marcy discovers something shocking about a planet orbiting a star called 16 Cygnus b, located some 70 light-years away in the constellation of Cygnus, the Swan.
The planet was clearly in an elongated orbit, bringing the planet close to and then far from the host star. And this, of course, defied our expectations based on our own solar system, where all of the planets go around our sun in nearly circular orbits like phonograph grooves in a record.
Like a giant yo-yo in space, the gas giant swings back and forth across its solar system, That is like the Earth swooping 25 million miles closer to the Sun, then slinging past Mars, all the way out towards Jupiter every year. And like all of the gas giants in our solar system, this yo-yo planet might have an entourage of moons. Marcy speculates that one of these moons could be similar to Earth.
And here's where the interesting story begins. Imagine a rocky moon with lakes, oceans, maybe streams and waterfalls on the surface. The moon orbiting its planet, the two of them orbiting the host star.
Unlike the airless moon that circles the Earth, this moon is a world with extreme seasons. On Earth, the seasons are caused by the tilt of our planet. Here, they are caused by the elongated orbit.
These poor planets that are in these elongated elliptical orbits suffer terrible changes in their climate throughout a year.
As they make their closest approach, the yo-yo planet and its moon are blowtorched by the star. Summer begins. The atmosphere on the Earth-like moon is savaged with raging storms. Category 5 hurricanes on Earth are tiny eddies compared to the monster vortexes that form here. The clouds thicken as the water evaporates.
Temperatures rise dramatically. Any water or gases would heat up, and indeed the oceans would boil into steam, so you'd end up with a big steam bath.
During the peak of the summer, the entire moon is smothered in 800-degree temperatures. This is the closest approach to the star. During its 26-month orbit, the summer season is barely 2 months long. But what a season! The planet and its moon swing away from the furnace of the star. Temperatures fall to ranges we would find temperate and comfortable. With the coming of fall, the rains return to the parched and roasted moon. Dry ocean basins are replenished, and the seas rise to form new shorelines. Tranquility prevails as the yo-yo planet and its moon slip into the deep freeze of winter. Now, over 200 million miles from the star, the daytime sky is dark. Temperatures hover around 260 degrees below. Winters are long, lasting 17 months. With the coming of spring, the sun looms large in the skies over this hapless moon as the ice cracks and melts violently. Huge icebergs calve into a stormy and fast-rising ocean. For 2 preciously short periods, during the spring thaw and the autumn rains, the climate on this Earth-like moon is balmy and comfortable. At a distance of 93 million miles from the star, roughly the same distance as Earth from the Sun, the elliptical orbit of this planet and its moon crosses an area around the star some scientists call the Goldilocks zone. The conditions here are just right for life.
If you're too close to the star, then it's too hot. If you're too far away, then it's going to be too cold and everything's going to be icy. But then if you're right in the middle, it's just right.
Every star has a Goldilocks zone. Where that zone is depends on the size and temperature of the star. In our solar system, Venus marks the inner boundary and Mars the outer boundary. Earth and its abundance of life is right in the middle. The Yo-Yo planet passes through the Goldilocks zone twice a year. For 3.5 months during the spring as it races inbound, and again in the fall for 3.5 months as it hurtles back into the colder reaches of space. Could life survive the conditions outside the Goldilocks zone?
There could be life forms that are smart enough to hibernate, as do animals on the Earth during the winter season. If this sounds fantastic, I offer you the tidal zones on the Earth. On the tidal zones, life proliferates, of course, near the seashore, and they do so despite tides. The water coming in, covering many of the life forms, the water going out at low tide, and yet those species survive perfectly well.
The strange cycle of the Yo-Yo planet's orbit creates fleeting conditions suitable for life, but also for death. Some alien planets are even more bizarre. Imagine a world that has no star to orbit. Scientists speculate that our galaxy is teeming with rogue planets, adrift in the murky lanes of interstellar space. These are orphaned worlds, planets that are booted from their solar systems by the chaos of planetary migration. Astronomers call such worlds planemos.
Planemos are planets without a star. They're just drifting through the galaxy indefinitely.
What massive force would it take to kick a planet out of the solar system?
When a young star forms with a contingent of planets around it, many of those planets gravitationally interact with each other. They yank on each other, slingshot each other, so that one of them is ejected from the planetary system, voted off the island, if you will.
If you were, unfortunately, a resident on a planet that was kicked out by a collision or a near collision with another large object, you'd probably rapidly move out of the habitable zone.
There are hundreds of billions of these lost, wayward, poor, wandering planets out in our Milky Way galaxy with no parent star to warm them up.
Cold, dark, quiet. Because planemos have no sun, they are worlds without days or years. They keep vigil through an eternal night. Planemos are solitary wanderers, sentinels of the galaxy. Just because it's out there drifting in space doesn't mean a planemo is dead.
If the planemo is a rocky world, it could well have life on it.
A small rocky planemo without an atmosphere will slumber in extreme cold, far colder than the coldest winter day on our own South Pole. But a planemo large enough to retain an atmosphere traps the heat generated when the planet was first formed. It is the ultimate greenhouse effect. The heat and energy comes from the molten core deep inside the lonely planet. If the planemo is a gas giant like Jupiter, it may have a system of moons. The gravitational pull between the planemo and its moons creates friction, causing the interior of the moons to stay warm.
These moons could also have life on them, in the same way that Jupiter's moon Io has volcanoes and has a lot of heat energy being generated by interactions with Jupiter and the other moons.
If anything lives here, it will be single cells like common bacteria found on Earth. Not complex life forms. Without a sun to provide photosynthesis, these tiny organisms derive their energy from the chemistry in the soil of the planemo, or its moon. On Earth, there are similar conditions. Colonies of bacteria are found deep within mine shafts in South Africa. They have no access to oxygen nor light, and survive entirely on the chemicals they make from the surrounding dirt. Their metabolisms are extremely slow, and they reproduce only once every 1,000 years. If life dwells on a sunless planemo, it could be organisms like them, marooned when their planet was young. While planemos slumber undisturbed, there are worse places to be in the universe. Like in the company of this lethal pulsar, some 980 light years from Earth, in the constellation of Virgo. From afar, a pulsar looks like a blinking light. But up close, pulsars machine gun their surroundings with deadly radiation. They are no place for planets. Yet something interferes with the precision of this pulsar. One explanation is that the anomaly is caused by a planet. But many astronomers are skeptical that planets orbiting a pulsar can exist.
The reason that's a problem is because pulsars are formed in these incredible explosions.
When a red giant star explodes, a titanic fireball known as a supernova unleashes as much energy in 1 minute as our sun generates in its lifetime.
When a star goes supernova, the shockwave is so immense it's hard to imagine any planet surviving that.
When the cosmic dust clears, all that remains is the crushed core of the red giant, pulsing in the heart of an expanding debris field. Matter blasted from the colossal explosion falls back to the pulsar and forms a disk. Within this chaos, a new world arises, born of fire and destruction, a planetary zombie raised from the carcass of the former red giant star.
It's amazing that planets could form in that environment.
A planet orbiting a pulsar will give you the feeling of being in a disco bar with a very strong strobe light, which is the pulsar.
Radiation from this stellar beast breaks down the organic molecules needed for life.
The pulsar has these very strong magnetic fields that are being spun around as the star is rotating quickly, and it's picking up any material, electrons, protons, and speeding them up and slinging them out at high speed. So it's like a solar wind with a vengeance.
I can't imagine that there would be much of an opportunity for even simple life, microbial life, to emerge and to flourish on a planet around a pulsar. Largely because if you were in the pulse, you'd be severely energized, and if you were not in the pulse, you would be completely devoid of energy.
The discovery of pulsar planets shows how new worlds can form in the wake of a star's destruction. No matter where a planet arises, the process of its birth is fraught with danger. Sometimes, the violence is so great, the end of the world comes before the beginning. 2007. Astronomers using the giant Gemini North telescope make a strange discovery in the Pleiades cluster some 400 light-years from Earth. A star known only by its catalog number HD 23514 is surrounded by a giant donut-shaped cloud of dust and gas. The star in the middle of the donut shape is about 100 million years old. A cosmic toddler in astronomical terms. Our Sun is 45 times older. The conditions are perfect for planets to form. But spectral analysis finds something strange. The dust is utterly pulverized. Typically, a newborn star is surrounded by fledgling planets.
Planets form around the young star in a protoplanetary disk of gas and dust. And then these planets go on their merry way orbiting the star, not realizing that they're in an orbit that's too close to another planet.
Millions of years ago, two primordial planets orbiting HD 23514 are spinning toward doom. As the two worlds close in, tidal forces torque each planet from spheres to egg shapes. Nothing remains. The two worlds are annihilated, creating the dust and debris seen around star HD 23514. 4 billion years ago, a similar apocalypse came to Earth. A Mars-sized planet forms in roughly the same orbit as the newborn Earth. Like the planets at HD 23514, Earth and this Mars-sized body are barreling toward each other.
If you happen to be unlucky enough to be standing on a growing planet when it was in the process of still becoming the Earth, you might wake up one morning and notice that the sky was getting darker and darker as a Mars-sized body was coming at you within a period of less than an hour.
And when it hits, the shock wave is felt all over the planet, scouring the surface of the Earth. The collision obliterates one side of the planet. Molten rock sprays out into space. The entire globe is peppered by meteors and noxious vapor.
It would actually make hell look like a Bahamas vacation.
The debris field from the collision coalesces and forms our moon. It is a new beginning for our planet.
Collisions are part of the birth process for planetary systems. Building up a terrestrial planet is probably all about colliding pieces of rock together.
And all across the galaxy, colliding pieces of rock are forming terrestrial worlds that defy the imagination.
There is a new planet out there, a planet we were not aware of existing before.
It is not just one planet. It is a new type of planet. Earth on steroids.
I like to call them super-Earths. They're just like the Earth, except bigger, up to about 10 times the mass of the Earth. One family that the super-Earths resemble just like our own Earth. Continents, oceans. Some of them may be very dry, like Mars. And then another family that we call water worlds or ocean planets that are completely covered with water.
Welcome to Gliese 581c.
This planet was found by Michel Mayor, and it orbits with 2 other planets around a very small star.
It's only 20 light years away, in the constellation of Libra and is one of the smallest terrestrial planets found beyond our solar system. That doesn't mean Gliese 581c is small. It's still a super-Earth with 5 times the mass of our home planet. But it's the possibility of liquid water that excites scientists.
An ocean planet feels like being in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, with no land inside, just water, puffy white clouds, and blue sky above you. The winds on the ocean world are going to be similar to that of the Earth. So it will be a very good place to sail.
The weather's absolutely perfect. Every day you get a clear blue sky and the sun just stays in the same place. Now how's that for weather prediction?
No land anywhere. Even miles beneath the surface.
This water layer would extend very far down, at least a quarter of the way down in the planet.
But as we dive deeper into the sea, the pressure builds. At 35,000 feet below the surface, we pass the point where the deepest oceans on Earth bottom out. We pass the 100,000-foot mark. The pressure is so great, water itself begins to take on surprising new forms. At a depth of 10 times the greatest ocean depth on Earth, we reach the bottom.
When you have a large amount of water, then at the bottom of an ocean, you will form very high pressure in excess of 1 million atmospheres. And that pressure will compress the liquid water, that is the ocean, into a state which we call ice 7.
No, it's not like ice in your refrigerator. The molecules of water that are in the ice in your refrigerator are kind of all jumbled up. But if you form ice under very high pressure, then the water molecules can become ordered, they can become aligned.
I can show you a crystal that is a very good analog to ice 7. This is halite, also known commonly as rock salt.
Ice 7 may exist within our own solar system. Europa, a moon of Jupiter, could possibly have a mantle of liquid water surrounded by a thick, icy crust. The pressure from the crust is so great that Ice 7 might exist deep within these uncharted seas. If we scale up and thaw out Europa, it could be a water world similar to Gliese 581c.
One could imagine that life could emerge on a water world. After all, water is essential to life on Earth.
Everywhere on Earth where there is water, there is life. You cannot find a sterile drop of water on Earth unless you put it in the microwave yourself.
On this water world, there could be bacteria or any kind of life in the ocean itself.
But not all of the super-Earths are water worlds teeming with life.
When we talk about super-Earths, we talked about 2 major families of mostly rocky with some water and mostly water with an endless ocean. But one has to add to those a 3rd family of probably very rare super-Earths and Earth-like planets, which are called carbon planets.
A carbon planet is unlike anything we've ever seen anywhere. A place with an alien chemistry, but loaded with very earthly treasures. Throughout our galaxy, there are planets barren and poor and inhospitable. But science is on the trail of a new type of planet, an entire world of treasure.
In our own solar system, in our sun and in all the stars nearby, there's always more oxygen than carbon. But if we think of a place in the universe where there's more carbon than oxygen, then planet formation is very different.
Spectral analysis shows carbon to be far more plentiful 26,000 light years away near the center of our galaxy. Planets that form here may contain a rich abundance of carbon. The morning sky on a carbon world would be anything but crystal clear and blue.
I'm picturing a yellow haze with black clouds of soot. And as you descended farther down in the atmosphere, I could imagine lakes that were made out of compounds like methane or gasoline. I'm picturing these bubbling, foul-smelling pits of black ooze, like an oil well.
With little or no water in the atmosphere, the air is made of carbon compounds.
Methane, butane, pentane, benzene, all these different kinds of carbon compounds that separate out when you refine gasoline. One day it might be raining benzene. The next day it might be raining butane.
Alien as carbon planets might seem, the air quality could be familiar to some.
The air in a very benzene-rich planet will resemble that of LA. A lot of small particles that unfortunately we are quite used to from the exhaust of cars.
Despite the pollution, carbon planets could come with a sparkling upside.
You might see diamond because the planet may have substantial quantities of pure carbon that it's formed out of. And pure carbon, when you compress it, tends to form into diamond.
The secrets of exotic planets like these are waiting to be discovered all across the galaxy. But astronomers won't be satisfied until they find the Holy Grail. A planet like our own, one that sustains life, the next Earth.
People always ask me, do I think we're going to find another planet like Earth? And I answer, absolutely.
Every star probably has planets roughly the same size as our Earth.
We think that essentially every star has several Earth mass or super Earth mass planets. So if you have, say, 200 billion stars in the galaxy, that may mean there are 400 billion Earths in the galaxy or more.
400 billion Earths. The Kepler Space Observatory is the first instrument capable of finding one of these planets.
Kepler is looking at the constellation Cygnus in the night sky at 100,000 stars, taking picture after picture after picture, minute after minute. And the goal of Kepler is simple: to look for stars among the 100,000 that dim.
When a star dims slightly, it means a planet passes in front, blocking some of the light. How long the star dims and how much light gets blocked will tell scientists about the size of the planet and the distance from its sun.
A good analogy for this is looking for the dip in the light that you would see from a searchlight if a small moth flew across the searchlight. And so it's a really tiny dip in the light as the planet transits.
It is a very powerful technique because it allows you to discover planets that are even smaller than the size of the Earth around stars similar to the Sun.
It is a technique that is changing the course of science.
We think we may be able to find a planet that is habitable in the next few years.
Scientists estimate the Kepler mission will find a minimum of 50 alien Earths.
One of the big questions that anybody looking for life beyond the Earth is facing today is, what if we don't recognize life even though we discover it?
Conditions on an alien Earth may cause life to evolve differently.
My hope is that we'll see some sign that will make our hairs stand up on the back of our necks.
Whatever that sign is, it will be the first chapter on the greatest scientific story ever told.